Hello, everyone. I'm Robert DeFelice of The Wrestling Apologist. You might know me from some of my work at Fightful over the years, or WrestleZone, or a number of wrestling related outlets. Currently, I work for Insider Gaming. It's a pleasure to be there, but my passion is truly professional wrestling, and I'm getting back into the media side of it with my own Substack, The Wrestling Apologist. And along with today's post, I wanted to get an audio and a visual out there to expand a little more on my thoughts on this topic. This topic being the fact that Sheamus is gone from WWE. And this is only about a month and a half after Kofi Kingston and the New Day left WWE. I'd say that Kofi Kingston and the New Day, really Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. Big E is still with the company doing his broadcasting duties, which is awesome for him, and super glad that he's found life outside of the ring. But specifically with people like Kofi and Sheamus, you begin to wonder, is anyone safe in this new WWE? Because there was a time where Sheamus was one of the top 5 stars in the company. And I'm not saying that in terms of his quote unquote wrestling ability or the ratings he brought in or any of that ridiculousness. I'm talking about the way he was positioned from the company. He was a top 5 guy. From the 2010 through about 2016 or so, he was likely one of the top babyface champions or a top heel champion. Now, he would go on to do the bar and stuff like that, but he was always a staple of WWE. And in recent years, he was really on a special, like, I'm having banger after banger, I'm getting my flowers kind of run. We saw a similar thing with Kofi Kingston with the Kofi Mania run, where that was all about give Kofi his flowers for all the work he's put in. And with Sheamus, he had been actively tweeting for a shot at the IC title the week that he was exiting the company. Now, I personally feel like it's exciting to see where he may go next. And I've a blog up on the Substack that talks about why I think he should go to AEW over TNA. I believe the full expectation is that Kofi Kingston and Austin Creed will end up in AEW as well. I'm excited to see what they do there, but really, I'm starting to wonder about other top names that felt like lifers. Like even The Miz. Is The Miz going to be at WWE forever? It's starting to feel like maybe not. It's starting to feel like TKO is very corporate, very cold, and what they do is they analyze this from a strict numbers perspective and they say, hey, we need to cut X amount of people, and then they give the orders to whoever, and that person gives the orders to whoever, and somehow you end up with the roster cuts that you get. For me, it's starting to feel like unless you're Roman Reigns or CM Punk or Cody Rhodes, that you're not safe. And that's kind of scary because there was a time where a dependable hand really meant that you would be safe. Like a Kofi should be in WWE forever. They should have fought for Kofi. They should not have asked Kofi, "Hey, take a pay cut." When Kofi's one of those guys who has just always stepped up to the plate. I feel the same way about Sheamus. I genuinely feel the same way about Austin Creed, especially because Creed built a YouTube channel for WWE that is seemingly just not going to move forward. Or if it is going to move forward, it's going to be Austin Creed by himself. And honestly, even on the women's side of things, I think about Bailey a lot. Like, is Bailey a lifer? Certainly, Mercedes Monet doesn't think so. She's out here posting images on social media, hyping a potential match with Bailey in a few months. But it's kind of scary to think that even people like Bliss or Charlotte Flair or even a Becky Lynch, maybe their full time WWE careers won't be the only wrestling career they have. Maybe they'll go elsewhere. And on the one hand, that's exciting, right? Like, you're forcing people out of their comfort zone. You're forcing a Kofi Kingston to now, let's see what you can do in AEW. Let's experience new things. I felt the same way about Edge. When Edge left WWE, it felt very surprising. He had never wrestled on major TV outside of that persona. Luckily, his last WWE run was just Adam Copeland with the volume slightly turned up, so the transition to AEW was a natural fit for him. He was able to keep the music and everything. But maybe, we're going to get to see what a Sheamus can do against a Brody King or a Mark Davis or a Jake Doyle or a reunited Sheamus and Claudio against the Young Bucks and FTR and hopefully the Motor City Machine Guns, who will also likely be landing in AEW when their non-compete clause is up. One thing that strikes me with these recent releases is that an ongoing storyline doesn't even ensure your safety. The Wyatt Sicks were the center point of the SmackDown Tag Division. They were the champions. They were in a major feud all throughout WrestleMania season with the NFTs. They won that rivalry and then just were quietly released. No exit for the characters or anything like that. And I guess it just worries me that we're in this like really corporate and cold era, and it feels like the ticket prices are way too high and everything's about branding. If you look at the pay-per-views, there's ads all over the ring mat, ads all over the LED boards. If you've got a Money in the Bank ladder match, that briefcase now has an ad on it, and it just feels far too not even sanitized. Just it feels like greed, and it's just greed is consuming that presentation of wrestling, which most people would argue was never a strict presentation of professional wrestling. Sports entertainment is so different, blah blah blah. But with all of the ad placement and just the constant commercials during pay-per-views now, it feels like we went from paying for a premium product to paying for what corporations consider a premium experience, and everything is just a signal well beyond the audience you're catering to and directly to advertisers, because it's all about just more money and more money and more money. And I hope that if a guy like a Miz or another lifer, let's say, like an R-Truth, if they ever choose to release him again, I hope that they're able to properly exit. I think a guy like Sheamus deserved a decent goodbye to the audience. I think the New Day, one of the biggest problems was you never capitalized on that turn against Big E, and they just sort of blended into the background, lost all their flair, and then left. And I hope that if this is the real way forward, that there's a little more attention paid to the exits moving on from here, because I think there's a lot of people who want to be able to say goodbye to their favorite superstars. And granted, hopefully you're going to be able to watch them elsewhere, and people should watch all different forms of wrestling. But we also know that nobody watches everything, and maybe people are just strictly WWE watchers. I don't think that they should be. I think you should try to get as much different experiences that are out there, but that's just how some people are. And for those people, I do think it's worth giving a Sheamus a chance to say goodbye, giving an R-Truth a chance to say goodbye. The Wyatt Sicks should have absolutely been given a chance to say goodbye because they have the gimmick for it. You could have run a spooky vignette for the Wyatt Sicks, letting people know, hey, we're moving on from here. And I think that you're robbing the audience when you don't allow for this. But these are some of my quick thoughts. If you want to read more, I dive a lot deeper in the written Wrestling Apologist, and I will try to do these more often. Thank you guys for your support. I hope to reconnect with the wrestling audience as much as possible, and if you want to follow me anywhere, you can check me out at Dude Felice on all the socials for right now. Again, that's thewrestlingapologist.substack.com. Dude Felice on socials. It might change. I might rebrand everything to the Wrestling Apologist. I'm in the middle of considering that. But for right now, I wanted to get this out there and start another foot forward in this new journey. Also, if you want to support me, you can check out timekillerapparel.com. That is my clothing brand that I'm trying to get restarted as I re-enter the world of content creation. Leave your thoughts in the comments about this or anything else. Let me know what you want to see from this channel moving forward. And just thank you guys for checking it out if you've even gotten this far. I will be back soon, and I'll talk to you then.